Chapter 3. What did you call your story? Josh asked Dink at their lockers. It was 3 o'clock and everyone was going home. Dink grinned as he put on his jacket. It's called Josh Stole the School Skeleton and Should Go to Jail Forever, Dink said. Ha ha, Josh said. Mine's called The Skeleton's Curse, Ruth Rose said. Mr. Bones puts a curse on all the boys with red hair. You guys are a riot, Josh said, as the kids walked toward the exit. Miss Shotsky poked her head out of her office and called to Dink. How's that finger? Fine, thanks, Dink said, wiggling it at her. Well, come on in and let me give you a couple of Band-Aids to take home. What a baby, Josh whispered as the 3 kids piled into Miss Shotsky's office. He's just jealous of your Batman Band-Aid, Ruth Rose said. Yeah, right, Josh said. Batman is out. Spider-Man rules the school. The kids followed Miss Shotsky into the back room. While Dink got more Band-Aids, Josh and Ruth Rose examined the corner where Mr. Bones was usually hung. Look, there's a footprint in the dust, Ruth Rose said. Miss Shotsky and Dink walked over to look. It looks like a sneaker, Dink said. See that zigzag tread? It's the left foot, Josh pointed out. And an adult size, Ruth Rose said. Maybe the thief made his footprint when he lifted Mr. Bones off the hook, Dink said. Could be. It sure isn't my footprint, Miss Shotsky said, holding her left foot up, while her white nurse's shoe was shorter and the tread on the bottom was different. Were any teachers in here this morning? Ruth Rose asked Miss Shotsky. Not that I know of, the nurse answered. After I got here, I went into the teacher's lounge to make coffee. I came back at 8 o'clock, but I didn't even look at Mr. Bones. So whoever took Mr. Bones had to do it between 7:30 and 8, right? Asked Josh. Miss Shotsky shook her head. Nope, I was in and out of here all morning, visiting the 1st and 2nd graders' rooms. Anyone could have taken Mr. Bones at any time before 10 o'clock, when Dink came in with his paper cut. Just then, there was a soft knock on the examining room door. Excuse me, but could I come in and sweep this room now? Someone said. It was Mr. Neater with his broom. Hi, Tom, come on in, Miss Shotsky said. Could I make a drawing of this footprint before you sweep? Josh asked Mr. Neater. Sure, I'll start in the front office, Mr. Neater said. And we should measure it, Ruth Rose said. Miss Shotsky gave Josh a paper and a pencil. She handed Ruth Rose a ruler. Josh made a quick sketch of the print. Be sure to get that zigzag pattern, Dink said, peering over Josh's shoulder. Ruth Rose measured the footprint. It's exactly 11 inches long, she said. Josh wrote 11 inches next to the drawing. So all we have to do is find out who wears this kind of shoe, Josh said, and we find Mr. Bones and win the tickets to the aquarium. But a lot of teachers wear sneakers, Ruth Rose said. How do we find the right one? I know who we can ask, Dink said. Mrs. Waters. All the teachers walk past her desk on their way to get their mail. Maybe she notices the shoes they wear. Let's hurry before she goes home, Ruth Rose said. Miss Shotsky opened a small door next to her filing cabinet. Here's a shortcut to the principal's office, she said. Sure enough, when the kids walked through the door, there was Mrs. Waters at her desk. She was staring into her open purse. Hi, kids, she said, closing her purse and putting it in the drawer. Still here? We're trying to find the skeleton, Ruth Rose said. We found a footprint on the floor where Mr. Bones hangs, Dink said. It's a sneaker. We think the guy who stole the skeleton made the print, Josh said. If we find him, our room wins the tickets. Just one footprint? Maybe you should be looking for a one-legged thief, Mrs. Waters said with a twinkle in her eye. Josh giggled and placed his drawing on her desk. Do you know anyone who wears this kind of sneaker? He asked. Just then, a small door opened again. Miss Shotsky peeked in, wearing her red scarf. Good night, all, Miss Shotsky said. Happy skeleton hunting, kids. Good night, Claire, said Mrs. Waters. The door closed. Mrs. Waters studied Josh's drawing, then shook her head. I usually notice what the teachers are wearing, she said, but I never see the bottom of their feet. She traced the zigzag tread with her finger. Although this pattern does seem familiar, I feel sure I've seen it somewhere. She smiled. Knowing me, I'll think of it halfway home. Mrs. Waters glanced at the clock and stood up. Time for me to leave, she said, heading toward her coat closet. But when she tried to open the door, it wouldn't budge. Mrs. Waters walked back to her desk and pulled her purse and sweater from a drawer. "First, I lose my powder," she said, "and now I think I'm losing my mind." Just then, Mr. Dillon appeared in the doorway of his office. "Hey, kids, still here?" Dink told Mr. Dillon about the footprint in Miss Shotsky's examining room. Josh showed him his drawing. "We think the thief was wearing sneakers like this," Ruth Rose said. "Well, that leaves me out," Mr. Dillon said. He raised one foot and showed the kids the smooth sole of his tiny tassel loafer. "Me too," Mrs. Waters said. She pointed a small high-heeled shoe at them. "That footprint is twice as big as my feet."